the unforgiving whiteness of the north. Endless ice and snow stretching as far as the eye can see. Survival here depends not on modern technology, but on ancient knowledge. The Inuit are a wise people who for generations have discovered the secrets of staying warm in this freezing cold. For them, it is not just a way of life, it is an art of survival. It's minus 40 degrees outside. In our modern world, we use electricity, natural gas, and high-tech appliances to keep warm. But how do the Inuit manage to stay warm without any of these things? The answer lies in the simplest yet most effective solutions they have used for centuries. The igloos they built, the clothes they wore, their ingenious heating techniques, and more. All of which are crucial to their survival in this unforgiving climate. Today, we're going to discover 10 incredible tricks these ancient people used to cope with the freezing cold. It's freezing cold outside, but a properly built igloo can be a warm shelter where you can live without even wearing clothes. That's why the Inuit need an igloo to keep warm in the first place. So how do they make a structure, built using only snow, so strong and thermally insulated? The secret lies in the perfect spiral construction technique developed by the Inuit. The construction of an igloo is not just a matter of stacking random blocks of snow on top of each other. It begins with the placement of meticulously cut blocks at an angle. The Inuit stack blocks cut from the snow in a spiral, creating a concave dome. Each block is tilted to support the next. This clever arrangement evenly distributes the weight of the structure itself, making it extraordinarily strong. This technique is so effective that scientists say an igloo can even withstand the weight of a polar bear. But the igloo's secret is not just its strength. The real magic lies in its ability to trap heat inside. The Inuit have been practicing this marvelous technique for centuries and have mastered the art of keeping warmth inside the igloo. This is why the spiral construction of the igloo is one of their most important survival tricks. The next warming trick is to properly insulate the igloo. In fact, the igloo has a self-reinforcing insulation system. On the first day of construction, the walls are made of compacted snow, but as the Inuit move inside, the interior surface of the snow blocks begins to melt slightly. The heat from their breath, their body warmth, and the heat provided by traditional oil lamps warms the environment. The moisture and water released by this melting quickly refreeze, forming a thin layer of ice covering the walls. As this process repeats, the inner walls of the igloo gradually harden and become denser. In this way, the hardened ice layer prevents warm air from escaping. Snow blocks are already a great insulation material, but this layer of ice creates an additional barrier, minimizing heat loss. Thus, the temperature inside the igloo remains much higher than the freezing conditions outside. Even if it is minus 50 degrees outside, the temperature inside can rise above zero. In short, the longer the igloo is used, the more efficient it becomes as a heat preservation system. The Inuit have used this knowledge for centuries, creating a warm living space from simple blocks of snow and have survived. Another trick used for heating is the inlet of the igloo. The most important way to properly retain heat inside the igloo is through a well-designed inlet tunnel. The Inuit have developed a method called the cold air trap, specifically designed to preserve warm air inside. So, how does this system work? Because cold air is denser than warm air, it sinks downward, while warm air stays up. The Inuit take advantage of this physical principle by building the entrance to the igloo lower than the living space. Cold air from outside sinks to the bottom of the tunnel and becomes trapped there. At the same time, warm air inside rises and remains in the living space, minimizing heat loss. As a result, even if the temperature outside drops to minus 50 degrees Celsius, the inside of the igloo can stay warm. Thanks to this simple yet ingenious design, the Inuit have been able to retain heat and protect themselves from the freezing cold. Today, this principle has even inspired many modern building designs aimed at improving energy efficiency. Another way to keep warm in the cold is to apply extra insulation, Snow is actually a much better insulator than we think. It contains millions of tiny air pockets, which are incredibly effective at trapping warm air. Since air is a poor conductor of heat, these air pockets in the snow work just like modern insulation materials, preventing heat from escaping. The Inuit enhance this effect by adding an extra layer of snow to the outer surface of the igloo, further increasing its insulation. This additional layer helps retain heat inside, keeping the internal temperature of the igloo much higher than the freezing temperatures outside. By maximizing the insulating power of the snow, they have perfected a simple yet ingenious way to survive, using snow not only as a building material, but also as a natural blanket. For the Inuit, one of the most natural and effective ways to stay warm inside an igloo is to use body heat properly. They do not rely solely on fire or external factors, but see their own bodies as a source of heat. So how does this work? A human body produces about as much heat as a 100-watt light bulb. When several people gather together in a small, enclosed space, this heat significantly increases the ambient temperature. Especially when multiple families share an igloo, the accumulation of body heat makes the air inside much warmer than outside. To make the best use of this natural heat source, the Inuit adopted a tradition similar to the modern-day practice of sleeping together. When multiple people sleep in the same space, warm air is concentrated in a small area, rather than spreading out horizontally. This provides more effective heating. Additionally, the Inuit maximize heat retention by building their bed platforms at the highest point of the igloo. Since warm air naturally rises, this height difference creates a warmer sleeping environment. This natural heating strategy is so effective that it even rivals modern insulation systems. Another way is not to warm the igloo, but to protect the Inuits' own bodies from the cold. For the Inuit, seals are not just a source of food, they are one of the most important elements of survival. While people in the modern world use synthetic fabrics, thick coats, and thermal blankets to retain heat, the Inuit have relied on the most effective insulating material nature has to offer for thousands of years: sealskin. The secret lies in its incredibly dense fur structure. Sealskin has more than 500,000 hairs per square centimeter. This dense layer of hair creates the perfect barrier to trap body heat. Additionally, sealskin is waterproof, meaning it provides protection from both cold air and moisture. This also plays a critical role in keeping the temperature inside the igloo stable. The Inuit use sealskin not only for their clothing, but also to cover their beds and as insulation to keep out the cold. When the inside of the fur is placed facing the body, it traps warm air, just like a modern thermal blanket. Scientists have proven that traditional sealskin clothing provides 3 times more effective thermal insulation than modern synthetic coats. By skillfully using this natural material, the Inuit manage to stay warm, even in the coldest Arctic conditions. Another heat protection method of the Inuit is their specially made furs. In the freezing cold, it is essential to preserve the heat produced by the body in the most efficient way. The Inuit use one of the most effective materials to achieve this: caribou fur. Unlike ordinary animal fur, caribou fur has hollow air pockets. These microscopic air pockets provide excellent insulation, trapping warm air inside. So much so that even thermal cameras cannot detect the body temperature of a person wearing caribou fur. To further strengthen this natural insulation, the Inuit produce clothing using double layers of caribou fur. In this system, the inner layer of fur is worn facing the body. Thus, body heat is trapped directly inside the fur. The outer layer of fur faces outwards, preventing wind, snow, and cold from seeping in. Thanks to this clever design, the Inuit can stay comfortable outdoors, even in temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius. Today, modern outdoor clothing manufacturers are trying to develop similar insulation technologies using this natural clothing system. But the Inuit way of surviving in the wild remains unrivaled. Another important method used by the Inuit is kolick. Polar nights can last for months. During these long and harsh winter nights, when the sun does not rise, the Inuit need a reliable source of both light and heat. Without electricity or the modern appliances we use today, how do they survive? The answer lies in the small oil lamps they have used for thousands of years, called kolik, fueled by seal blubber. Seal blubber is an extremely efficient fuel with a high energy density. In fact, 1 kilogram of seal blubber can produce as much energy as 2 kilograms of coal. This makes it an ideal and simple solution to increase the temperature inside the igloo. When the lamp is lit, it radiates a constant and controlled heat into the environment. Scientists have found that a single kolik lamp emits about as much heat as a 250-watt light bulb. It may seem like a small fire, but it plays a vital role in maintaining the temperature balance of the igloo. The design of kolik lamps is also ingenious. Arctic cotton grass or moss is used as the wick. A special groove on the edge of the lamp absorbs the seal blubber, allowing it to burn steadily. This way, the kolik burns cleanly, with almost no soot or smoke. For the Inuit, the kolik is much more than a simple source of light and heat. They use these lamps not only to keep warm, but also to dry their clothes and even to cook food. With the purest source of energy nature has to offer, they make the interior of the igloo a warm and habitable environment. Another life trick of the Inuit has to do with the interior design of the igloo. Sleeping in an igloo in the Arctic cold can be much warmer than you think. But this is no accident. Inuit deliberately place their beds at the highest point of the igloo to stay warm. But have you ever wondered why they do this? The laws of physics are simple. Warm air rises, cold air sinks. Knowing this principle, the Inuit build their beds on high platforms carved into the walls, rather than directly on the ground. Thus, the warmer air inside the igloo stays above, while the cooler air accumulates below, in the entrance tunnel. This simple method is one of the most effective ways to maintain body temperature during sleep. For the Inuit, this technique is not just a matter of comfort, but one that they must do to survive. But there is a more surprising side. Not only do Inuit sleep at altitude, but they sleep not on snow, but on natural materials that provide insulation. Bed platforms often have a hard floor carved out of compacted snow or ice. Even more surprising? Over time, these snow platforms melt slightly due to body temperature and then freeze again. This process molds the shape of the bed to perfectly fit the body of the sleeper. So each Inuit's bed is actually a natural mattress that is shaped individually. Another technique Inuit use to stay warm is not shelter and clothing like others. Inuit place great importance on not staying still to increase body temperature. Sitting or standing still for long periods of time in the freezing cold can cause body temperature to drop rapidly. That's why Inuit warm up by making small but constant movements throughout the day. Scientists have proven that the human body generates heat through muscle movement. Even light activity can raise body temperature by several degrees. Inuit know this instinctively, so they constantly make small hand and foot movements, even in cold environments. Even rubbing their hands, gently moving their feet, or consciously squeezing and relaxing muscles is an important source of heat for them. In traditional Inuit culture, this technique is not only for survival, but is also part of social activities. For example, children play rope games, constantly moving their hands and arms. Adults keep the blood circulation active with constant small muscle movements while fishing or hunting. Also, using hand gestures while telling a story and moving with songs and rhythmic dances are natural ways to warm up. This method is so effective that it is even used today in modern cold weather training. Soldiers and polar explorers learn in training that they should not stay still for long periods of time, and they maintain their body temperature by doing these small movements practiced by the Inuit. Simple but effective, isn't it? The cold is cruel, but the Inuit do not challenge it. They learn to live with it. With thousands of years of knowledge, the Inuit have survived by taking every opportunity nature offers. Survival is sometimes possible not by force, but by understanding nature and living in harmony with it. And the Inuit are masters of this art. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next documentary.